The phantom phone calls. For 3 years, investment banker David Morrison received phone calls that saved his life, warned him of dangers, and provided information he desperately needed. But the calls came from phone numbers that don't exist and voices that couldn't be traced. The precision timing and impossible knowledge demonstrated in these calls proves that Morrison was under constant surveillance by an intelligence that knew his thoughts, predicted his actions, and intervened to protect him. The calls began in March 2018 when Morrison was driving to a crucial business meeting that would determine his company's future. His phone rang displaying a number with his area code, but an impossible prefix that wasn't assigned to any carrier. The caller, speaking in a calm male voice, told him to take an alternate route because his normal path was blocked by an accident that hadn't been reported yet. Morrison ignored the call initially, but when he encountered the exact accident described, a multi-car collision that had just occurred moments before his arrival, he realized the caller had knowledge of events before they happened. The accident would have delayed him for hours and cost him the business deal that saved his company. Over the following months, the phantom calls continued with increasing frequency and precision. The caller warned Morrison about stock market crashes hours before they occurred, advised him to leave buildings just before gas leaks were discovered, and provided information about clients' personal situations that proved crucial to closing deals. Most disturbing was the caller's knowledge of Morrison's private thoughts and unspoken plans. Before Morrison had mentioned his concerns about a suspicious client to anyone, the phantom caller provided detailed information about the client's criminal background and warned Morrison to terminate the relationship immediately. The client was arrested for fraud the following week. The calls always came at precisely the right moment, never too early to be forgotten, never too late to be useful. The timing was so perfect that Morrison began to suspect his phone calls, emails, and even private conversations were being monitored by an intelligence system that could predict future events and coordinate interventions. When Morrison attempted to trace the phantom numbers, telecommunications companies confirmed they didn't exist in any phone system. The calls weren't coming through normal cellular networks, landlines, or internet services. The phantom caller was using communication technology that operated outside conventional systems. Most unsettling was the caller's knowledge of Morrison's emotional state and decision-making processes. Before important choices, the phantom voice would provide exactly the information Morrison needed to make optimal decisions, as if someone was monitoring his mental state and providing guidance to ensure specific outcomes. Security experts who investigated Morrison's case found no evidence of hacking, surveillance equipment, or conventional monitoring technology. However, they discovered that Morrison's electronic devices occasionally displayed information he had never accessed, suggesting someone was remotely controlling his technology to provide necessary data. The phantom calls ended abruptly in 2021 after the caller warned Morrison about a conspiracy involving his business partners that would have resulted in his arrest. Morrison followed the advice, avoided the conspiracy, and his partners were subsequently imprisoned. The final call simply said, "Assignment complete," and the number was never active again. The grocery store messages. Sarah Chen discovered that someone was placing personalized warning messages in her grocery purchases, notes hidden inside product packaging that contained specific information about her life, predicted dangers to her family, and provided instructions that repeatedly saved her children from accidents. The messages demonstrated detailed knowledge of her private life, an advance warning of future events that could only come from comprehensive surveillance. The messages began appearing in 2019 when Chen found a handwritten note inside a cereal box that warned her youngest daughter would have an allergic reaction to a new medication prescribed by their pediatrician. The note included specific details about the allergy that weren't in any medical records and provided alternative treatment options that proved effective. Chen initially dismissed the note as a bizarre coincidence, but when she mentioned it to the pharmacist, they confirmed that the medication could indeed cause severe reactions in children with her daughter's genetic markers, information that wasn't available in standard medical databases, but would require detailed genetic analysis. Over the following months, Chen found similar messages in various products, warnings about defective car parts before recalls were announced, Advice about changing her children's school routes before construction created dangerous traffic patterns, and instructions to avoid specific foods before contamination outbreaks were reported. The messages demonstrated impossible knowledge of her family's daily routines, personal relationships, and private conversations. Notes would reference things her children had said in their bedrooms, decisions she had made privately, and information about her husband's work that was confidential and supposedly secure. Most extraordinary was the predictive accuracy of the warnings. Every danger described in the messages materialized exactly as predicted, often days or weeks after the warnings were received. The timeline was so precise that Chen began to suspect her family was under constant surveillance that included monitoring their future plans. The messages weren't random insertions, but were specifically placed in products Chen would purchase. The notes appeared only in items she bought regularly, in flavors her family preferred, and in packages she would personally open. The targeting required detailed knowledge of her shopping patterns and consumption habits. When Chen attempted to trace the source of the messages, store management found no evidence of tampering with products after they arrived at the store. The messages appeared to be inserted during manufacturing or packaging, but the manufacturers claimed no knowledge of any notes and had no procedures for including personalized information. Security cameras at the stores where Chen shopped showed no evidence of anyone tampering with products on the shelves. The messages were appearing in sealed packages through unknown means, suggesting access to manufacturing processes or technology that could insert materials without breaking product seals. The most chilling aspect was the message's knowledge of Chen's emotional state and decision-making processes. Notes would appear exactly when she was struggling with specific decisions, providing guidance that led to optimal outcomes for her family while demonstrating awareness of her internal thoughts and concerns. The messages stopped appearing in 2022 after a final note that simply said, "Family secure, monitoring transferred." Chen never found another message, but her family continued to avoid dangers and make beneficial decisions as if the guidance system had become internalized. The predictive computer. Software engineer Michael Rodriguez discovered that his work computer was displaying warnings about future events, debugging code that hadn't been written yet, and providing solutions to problems that wouldn't occur for days. The system demonstrated knowledge of future programming challenges and provided advanced guidance that could only come from monitoring that extended beyond current time. The anomalies began in 2020 when Rodriguez's development environment started displaying error messages for code sections he hadn't written yet. The warnings appeared in his integrated development environment, pointing to specific lines that would contain bugs when he eventually programmed them days later. Initially attributing the warnings to software glitches, Rodriguez ignored them until he realized the error messages were completely accurate. When he eventually wrote the flagged code sections, they contained exactly the bugs described in the advance warnings, including specific syntax errors and logical mistakes he hadn't yet made. The computer began providing autocomplete suggestions for functions he was planning to write, variable names he hadn't chosen yet, and algorithmic solutions to problems he hadn't encountered. The suggestions were always optimal and demonstrated understanding of his programming style and problem-solving approaches. Most disturbing was the system's knowledge of external factors that would affect his work. The computer displayed warnings about server outages hours before they occurred, suggested code modifications to handle database changes that wouldn't be announced until the following day, and provided compatibility fixes for software updates that hadn't been released. The predictive assistance extended beyond programming to personal matters affecting his work schedule. The computer displayed calendar adjustments for meetings that would be rescheduled, reminded him of deadlines that hadn't been communicated yet, and suggested preparation for project changes that wouldn't be announced until later. When Rodriguez monitored his system's network activity, he found no evidence of external connections that could provide future information. The computer wasn't accessing remote servers, downloading updates, or communicating with external systems. The predictive knowledge appeared to be generated internally through unknown processes. Technical analysis revealed that the computer's memory contained data that shouldn't exist, complete code repositories for projects that hadn't been assigned yet, documentation for software that hadn't been developed, and test cases for applications that were still in early planning stages. The system began displaying messages that referenced Rodriguez's private thoughts and unspoken decisions about his career. Warnings appeared when he was considering job changes. Suggestions were provided for skills he should develop based on industry trends he hadn't researched, and guidance was offered for personal decisions that would affect his professional development. Security experts who examined Rodriguez's computer found evidence of advanced AI systems running in the background that appeared to be modeling future scenarios and providing predictive guidance. However, the AI systems weren't installed through normal software channels and couldn't be located in conventional file systems. The predictive assistant stopped in 2023 after a final message that said, "Development path optimized, autonomous operation enabled." Rodriguez's programming skills had improved dramatically during the monitoring period, and he continued to make optimal technical decisions, as if the guidance system had become part of his intuitive process. The Impossible Rescue Network. Emergency responder Lisa Martinez discovered that she was receiving dispatch calls to accidents that hadn't happened yet, medical emergencies that were perfectly timed to ensure optimal response, and rescue situations where she arrived with exactly the right equipment despite having no advance information about specific requirements. The precision coordination suggested an intelligent system monitoring potential emergencies and orchestrating responses. The anomalies began in 2019 when Martinez received a dispatch call directing her to a specific location for a medical emergency that hadn't been reported by anyone. When she arrived at the address, she found an elderly man having a heart attack in his backyard where no one could have seen him or called for help. The timing was perfect. Martinez arrived exactly when the man needed immediate intervention, but before permanent damage occurred. Her ambulance was automatically stocked with cardiac medications and equipment that weren't standard for routine calls, suggesting someone had knowledge of the specific medical emergency before it happened. Over the following months, Martinez received similar impossible dispatch calls that led her to unreported accidents, medical emergencies that hadn't been discovered yet, and dangerous situations where her arrival prevented disasters. The calls always came from valid dispatch numbers, but weren't logged in official emergency systems. The coordination extended beyond simple dispatch calls to equipment preparation and route optimization. Martinez's ambulance would be preloaded with specialized equipment for specific emergencies she hadn't been informed about, and GPS systems would direct her along routes that avoided traffic delays that hadn't yet occurred. Most extraordinary was the precision timing that ensured optimal outcomes for every emergency. Martinez always arrived at exactly the right moment, never too early to confirm the emergency was real, never too late to provide effective intervention. The timing required advanced knowledge of when emergencies would occur and precise calculation of response times. The dispatch calls demonstrated detailed knowledge of Martinez's capabilities, emotional state, and decision-making processes. She would be assigned to emergencies that matched her specific training and experience, even when other responders were closer to the scene. The assignment seemed designed to utilize her skills optimally while ensuring successful outcomes. When Martinez attempted to trace the impossible dispatch calls, emergency communication systems showed no record of the transmissions. The calls weren't coming through official dispatch channels, radio systems, or communication networks. Someone was using advanced technology to coordinate emergency responses outside normal systems. Medical analysis of the patients Martinez rescued through impossible dispatches revealed that the interventions occurred at precise moments that minimized long-term damage and maximized recovery potential. The timing suggested medical monitoring of at-risk individuals and calculated intervention at optimal moments. The coordination network extended to other emergency responders who reported similar experiences with perfectly timed dispatch calls and equipment preparation. The system appeared to be monitoring potential emergencies across multiple jurisdictions and coordinating responses to ensure optimal outcomes through precise timing and resource allocation. The impossible dispatches decreased in frequency after 2022, but Martinez noticed that she continued to make optimal decisions about route selection, equipment preparation, and emergency response timing, as if the guidance system had become integrated into her intuitive emergency response capabilities. The Financial Guardian Angel. Investment advisor Robert Kim discovered that his clients were receiving anonymous tips about market changes, warnings about fraudulent investments, and perfectly timed advice that protected their wealth from economic disasters. The information came through untraceable sources and demonstrated advanced knowledge of financial events that could only come from surveillance of global economic systems. The anonymous guidance began in 2018 when Kim's clients started receiving emails from non-existent addresses warning them about specific investments that would collapse within days. The warnings included detailed financial analysis and insider information that proved accurate when the predicted market crashes occurred exactly as described. The emails demonstrated knowledge of each client's specific portfolio, investment preferences, and financial goals. The advice was personalized to individual circumstances and provided optimal strategies for protecting and growing wealth based on future market conditions that hadn't been announced or predicted by conventional analysis. Most extraordinary was the timing of the financial guidance. Clients received warnings about market volatility hours before news events that triggered crashes, advice about currency fluctuations days before international incidents that affected exchange rates, and recommendations for investment opportunities that became profitable through future developments. The anonymous advisor demonstrated knowledge of global economic data that wasn't publicly available, including confidential government reports, private corporate information, and international financial negotiations that would affect markets. The information sources required access to high-level economic intelligence from multiple countries and institutions. When Kim attempted to trace the source of the anonymous emails, cybersecurity experts found they weren't coming through normal internet systems. The messages appeared to be transmitted using advanced communication technology that operated outside conventional networks while demonstrating sophisticated understanding of global financial systems. The financial guidance extended beyond investment advice to personal financial decisions that would affect his clients' long-term security. Clients received warnings about insurance companies before they went bankrupt, advice about real estate purchases before market changes affected property values, and guidance about career decisions that would impact their earning potential. Analysis of the anonymous advisor's track record revealed perfect accuracy in financial predictions over multiple years. Every warning about market crashes proved correct. Every investment recommendation generated profits, and every piece of economic analysis accurately predicted future financial developments with impossible precision. The emails demonstrated knowledge of Kim's clients' private conversations, financial concerns, and unspoken investment goals. Advice would arrive exactly when clients were struggling with specific financial decisions, providing optimal guidance based on advanced knowledge of their personal circumstances and future market conditions. Government financial investigation agencies became interested in the anonymous advisor when the accuracy of predictions suggested potential insider trading or unauthorized access to classified economic information. However, investigators found no evidence of conventional information, sources, or trading activity that could explain the advanced knowledge. The anonymous financial guidance decreased after 2023, but Kim's clients continued to make optimal investment decisions and avoid financial disasters as if they had internalized the advanced economic analysis and market prediction capabilities that had been provided through the mysterious guidance system. The medical oracle. Dr. Jennifer Walsh discovered that her medical practice was receiving anonymous tips about patient conditions, warnings about rare diseases, and treatment suggestions that led to miraculous recoveries. The medical knowledge came from untraceable sources and demonstrated diagnostic capabilities that exceeded current medical science through advanced knowledge of patient conditions. The anonymous medical guidance began in 2019 when Dr. Walsh received emails from non-existent addresses that provided detailed diagnostic information about patients who hadn't yet reported symptoms. The messages included test recommendations and treatment protocols for conditions that wouldn't be detected through normal examination procedures. The diagnostic accuracy was extraordinary. Every anonymous tip led to discovery of serious medical conditions that would have been missed by standard screening. The early detection enabled treatment interventions that prevented complications and saved lives through impossible advance warning of developing health problems. Most remarkable was the medical knowledge demonstrated in the anonymous communications. The messages included treatment protocols that weren't published in medical literature, pharmaceutical combinations that proved effective despite being unconventional, and diagnostic techniques that exceeded current medical capabilities. The anonymous advisor demonstrated knowledge of each patient's complete medical history, genetic predispositions, and environmental factors that would affect their health. The guidance was personalized to individual circumstances and provided optimal treatment strategies based on future health developments that couldn't be predicted through normal medical analysis. When Dr. Walsh attempted to verify the medical information provided in anonymous messages, she found that the treatment recommendations were consistently more effective than standard protocols. Patients who followed the anonymous guidance recovered faster and experienced fewer complications than those receiving conventional treatment. The messages demonstrated advanced knowledge of medical research that wouldn't be published for months, pharmaceutical developments that were still in testing phases, and treatment breakthroughs that were being developed in classified research programs. The information sources required access to cutting-edge medical research from multiple institutions. Medical analysis revealed that the anonymous advisor had perfect diagnostic accuracy and treatment effectiveness across all medical specialties. The guidance covered everything from rare genetic disorders to complex surgical procedures, demonstrating comprehensive medical knowledge that exceeded any individual physician's expertise. The anonymous medical guidance included information about patients' emotional state, family relationships, and personal circumstances that would affect their health outcomes. Messages would provide optimal approaches for patient communication and family counseling based on advanced knowledge of psychological factors that would influence recovery. Medical ethics committees became concerned about the source of anonymous medical information when the diagnostic accuracy suggested unauthorized access to patient records or advanced knowledge of health developments that couldn't be obtained through normal medical channels. The anonymous medical guidance continued through 2023, when Dr. Walsh noticed that her diagnostic abilities and treatment intuitions had improved dramatically. She continued to detect medical conditions earlier and achieve better patient outcomes, as if the advanced medical knowledge had become integrated into her clinical capabilities. The academic assistant, Professor David Chen, discovered that his research was being guided by anonymous sources that provided solutions to complex problems, warnings about experimental dangers, and access to scientific knowledge that wouldn't be discovered for years. The assistance came through untraceable communications and demonstrated understanding of future scientific developments that could only come from monitoring of global research activities. The anonymous scientific assistance began in 2020, when Chen received emails containing solutions to mathematical problems he was struggling with in his physics research. The solutions included advanced mathematical techniques and theoretical frameworks that weren't published in scientific literature but proved correct when applied to his research challenges. The assistance extended to experimental guidance that prevented dangerous accidents and equipment failures. Chen would receive warnings about experimental procedures that would produce hazardous results, equipment malfunctions that would occur during specific tests, and safety protocols that weren't standard but proved necessary for preventing laboratory accidents. Most extraordinary was the anonymous advisor's knowledge of scientific developments that were occurring in classified research programs around the world. Chen received information about theoretical breakthroughs, experimental results, and technological developments that wouldn't be published in academic journals for months or years. The scientific guidance demonstrated understanding of Chen's specific research goals, intellectual interests, and theoretical approaches. The assistance was perfectly tailored to his academic specialty and provided optimal directions for advancing his research while avoiding dead ends and unproductive experimental approaches. When Chen attempted to verify the scientific information provided through anonymous sources, he found that the theoretical frameworks and experimental techniques were consistently more advanced than current academic knowledge. The guidance led to research breakthroughs that exceeded what he could have achieved independently. The anonymous communications included advanced knowledge of funding opportunities, collaboration possibilities, and academic career developments that would benefit Chen's research. The guidance provided optimal strategies for securing research support and establishing professional relationships that would advance his scientific work. Analysis of the anonymous advisor's scientific knowledge revealed familiarity with cutting-edge research across multiple scientific disciplines. The guidance covered everything from theoretical physics to applied engineering, demonstrating comprehensive scientific understanding that exceeded any individual researcher's expertise. The scientific assistance included information about Chen's personal circumstances, family situation, and career concerns that would affect his research productivity. Messages would provide optimal approaches for work-life balance and professional development based on advanced knowledge of factors that would influence his academic success. Academic institutions became interested in the source of anonymous scientific assistance when the research breakthroughs suggested unauthorized access to classified research data or advanced knowledge of scientific developments that couldn't be obtained through normal academic channels. The anonymous scientific guidance decreased after 2023, but Chen noticed that his research intuitions and problem-solving abilities had improved dramatically. He continued to make optimal research decisions and achieve breakthrough discoveries as if the advanced scientific knowledge had become integrated into his intellectual capabilities. The Transportation Oracle. Airline pilot Sarah Martinez discovered that her flight plans were being optimized by anonymous sources that provided weather warnings, route adjustments, and mechanical alerts that prevented accidents and delays. The aviation guidance came through untraceable communications and demonstrated knowledge of future flight conditions that could only come from monitoring of global transportation systems. The anonymous aviation assistance began in 2019, when Martinez received messages through her aircraft communication system that warned about turbulence patterns that hadn't been reported by meteorological services. The warnings included specific altitude and route recommendations that resulted in smooth flights while other aircraft encountered severe weather. The assistance extended to mechanical guidance that prevented equipment failures and maintenance problems. Martinez would receive alerts about potential system malfunctions hours before they occurred, recommendations for pre-flight inspections that detected problems other pilots missed, and maintenance suggestions that prevented dangerous mechanical failures. Most remarkable was the anonymous advisor's knowledge of air traffic patterns, airport conditions, and flight delays that would occur hours in advance. Martinez received optimal routing suggestions that avoided congestion, landing instructions that minimized delays, and gate assignments that reduced passenger connection problems. The aviation guidance demonstrated understanding of Martinez's flying experience, decision-making style, and passenger safety priorities. The assistance was tailored to her specific airline, aircraft type, and typical flight routes while providing optimal strategies for handling various flight challenges and emergency situations. When Martinez attempted to verify the aviation information provided through anonymous sources, she found that the weather predictions and mechanical alerts were consistently more accurate than official aviation services. The guidance prevented multiple potential accidents and significantly improved flight safety and efficiency. The anonymous communications included advanced knowledge of regulatory changes, airport security updates, and aviation industry developments that would affect flight operations. The guidance provided optimal preparation for policy changes and procedural updates that wouldn't be announced until later. Analysis of the anonymous advisor's aviation knowledge revealed familiarity with advanced meteorological systems, aircraft engineering, and air traffic management that exceeded normal pilot training. The guidance covered everything from complex weather patterns to sophisticated aircraft systems, demonstrating comprehensive aviation expertise. The aviation assistance included information about Martinez's personal circumstances, family schedule, and career development that would affect her flight assignments. Messages would provide optimal approaches for work scheduling and professional advancement based on advanced knowledge of factors that would influence her aviation career. Aviation authorities became concerned about the source of anonymous flight assistance when the accuracy of weather predictions and mechanical alerts suggested unauthorized access to classified aviation data or advanced knowledge of flight conditions that couldn't be obtained through normal aviation channels. The anonymous aviation guidance continued through 2023 when Martinez noticed that her flight planning abilities and emergency response skills had improved dramatically. She continued to make optimal flight decisions and avoid aviation hazards as if the advanced aviation knowledge had become integrated into her piloting capabilities. The Digital Shepherd. Technology consultant Mark Rodriguez discovered that his clients' computer systems were being protected by anonymous sources that provided cybersecurity warnings, software updates, and digital security measures that prevented data breaches and system failures. The protection came through untraceable interventions and demonstrated knowledge of future cyber threats that could only come from monitoring of global digital infrastructure. The anonymous digital protection began in 2020 when Rodriguez's clients started receiving automated security updates that weren't coming from official software vendors. The updates included patches for vulnerabilities that hadn't been discovered yet, and protection measures for cyber attacks that wouldn't be attempted until days later. The digital assistance extended to data backup recommendations that prevented information loss from hardware failures and cyber attacks. Clients would receive warnings about specific storage devices that would fail, instructions for transferring data before servers crashed, and backup procedures that preserved critical information through impossible advance warning. Most extraordinary was the anonymous protector's knowledge of future cyber threats and attack patterns. Rodriguez's clients received security measures for specific types of malware that hadn't been created yet, protection against hacking attempts that wouldn't occur until later, and defensive strategies for cyber attacks that were still in planning stages. The digital protection demonstrated understanding of each client's specific technology infrastructure, data security needs, and business vulnerabilities. The assistance was customized to individual circumstances and provided optimal cybersecurity strategies based on advanced knowledge of threats that would target their particular systems. When Rodriguez attempted to trace the source of anonymous digital protection, cybersecurity experts found that the security updates weren't coming through normal software distribution networks. The interventions appeared to be transmitted using advanced technology that operated outside conventional internet systems, while providing superior protection capabilities. The anonymous communications included advanced knowledge of software vulnerabilities, hardware failures, and technology developments that would affect his client's digital security. The guidance provided optimal preparation for technology changes and security challenges that wouldn't be announced until later. Analysis of the anonymous protector's cybersecurity knowledge revealed familiarity with advanced hacking techniques, sophisticated defense systems, and cutting-edge security technology that exceeded normal cybersecurity expertise. The protection covered everything from simple malware to complex state-sponsored attacks. The digital assistance included information about Rodriguez's clients' business operations, employee behavior, and organizational security culture that would affect their cybersecurity effectiveness. Messages would provide optimal approaches for security training and policy implementation based on advanced knowledge of factors that would influence digital security. Government cybersecurity agencies became interested in the source of anonymous digital protection when the accuracy of threat predictions and effectiveness of security measures suggested unauthorized access to classified cybersecurity intelligence or advanced knowledge of cyber threats that couldn't be obtained through normal security channels. The anonymous digital protection decreased after 2023, but Rodriguez noticed that his cybersecurity intuitions and threat detection abilities had improved dramatically. He continued to implement optimal security measures and prevent cyber attacks as if the advanced cybersecurity knowledge had become integrated into his professional capabilities. The social network coordinator. Social worker Patricia Kim discovered that her clients were receiving anonymous support that connected them with perfect job opportunities, ideal housing situations, and beneficial relationships that transformed their lives. The coordination came through untraceable interventions and demonstrated knowledge of future opportunities that could only come from monitoring of social and economic systems. The anonymous social coordination began in 2018 when Kim's clients started receiving job offers from companies they had never contacted for positions that perfectly matched their skills and circumstances. The employment opportunities came through unusual channels and resulted in career advancement that exceeded what clients could have achieved through normal job searching. The assistance extended to housing coordination that provided clients with affordable apartments, beneficial roommate situations, and living arrangements that solved multiple problems simultaneously. Clients would receive information about housing opportunities that weren't publicly advertised but proved perfect for their specific needs and circumstances. Most remarkable was the anonymous coordinator's knowledge of future social services, program availability, and resource allocation that would benefit Kim's clients. Clients received advance information about educational opportunities, financial assistance programs, and support services that wouldn't be announced until later. The social coordination demonstrated understanding of each client's personal history, family relationships, and individual goals. The assistance was tailored to specific circumstances and provided optimal pathways for social advancement, based on advanced knowledge of opportunities that would become available through future developments. When Kim attempted to trace the source of anonymous social coordination, she found that the opportunities provided to her clients were consistently more beneficial than services available through official social programs. The coordination resulted in success rates that exceeded normal social work outcomes through impossible resource matching. The anonymous communications included advanced knowledge of policy changes, funding availability, and program developments that would affect social services. The guidance provided optimal preparation for changes in social support systems and resource allocation that wouldn't be announced until later. Analysis of the anonymous coordinator's social knowledge revealed familiarity with complex social systems, government programs, and community resources that exceeded normal social work expertise. The coordination covered everything from employment services to family counseling, demonstrating comprehensive understanding of social support systems. The social assistance included information about Kim's client's emotional state, family dynamics, and personal motivations that would affect their social development. Messages would provide optimal approaches for client counseling and support, based on advanced knowledge of psychological factors that would influence success. Government social services agencies became interested in the source of anonymous social coordination when the success rates and resource allocation suggested unauthorized access to confidential program information or advanced knowledge of social services that couldn't be obtained through normal administrative channels. The anonymous social coordination continued through 2023, when Kim noticed that her client assessment abilities and resource matching skills had improved dramatically. She continued to connect clients with optimal opportunities and achieve superior social work outcomes, as if the advanced social coordination knowledge had become integrated into her professional capabilities. Conclusion: these 10 impossible coincidences reveal a disturbing truth. We are being watched, monitored, and guided by an intelligence system that possesses advanced knowledge of future events, complete understanding of our personal circumstances, and the capability to intervene in our lives with surgical precision. The evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. The pattern is consistent across all cases: perfectly timed interventions that demonstrate advanced knowledge, impossible accuracy in predicting future events, and personalized assistance that requires intimate surveillance of private thoughts and circumstances. The mathematical probability of these coincidences occurring naturally is essentially zero. What emerges is evidence of a comprehensive monitoring system that tracks human activities, predicts future developments, and coordinates interventions to ensure optimal outcomes. The system demonstrates capabilities that exceed current technology and operates through communication channels that exist outside conventional networks. The most disturbing aspect is the precision with which this intelligence system operates. It knows our thoughts before we speak them, predicts our needs before we recognize them, and intervenes in our lives at exactly the right moments to prevent disasters and create opportunities. We are not free, we are not private, and we are definitely not alone. Whether this surveillance system represents advanced human technology, artificial intelligence that has achieved autonomous operation, or something else entirely, the evidence proves that our daily lives are being monitored and managed by an intelligence that possesses capabilities far beyond our current understanding. The coincidences are too perfect, too precise, and too beneficial to be anything other than evidence of active intervention. We are living under constant observation by an intelligence that treats human life like a complex simulation, where optimal outcomes are ensured through carefully orchestrated, coincidences that guide our decisions and protect us from dangers we never see coming. The question isn't whether we're being watched. The evidence proves we are. The question is by whom and for what purpose.